Hi, today we're going to learn how to use the Roti Maker. The Roti Maker is actually a very useful device, especially if you don't want to waste too much time making rotis, or if you're really in a hurry or your skill levels are not that high to actually use the traditional roti making methods. The Roti Maker is a little different from the traditional roti methodologies. One, you're not going to have your rolling pin and the board, and two, your dough consistency is going to be a little different from the traditional roti dough. Let's talk about the dough before we actually go into the dough making process. The dough is going to be a little watery compared to the traditional dough. I've tried multiple combinations and then finally settled on a combination which works for me on a regular basis, and I try to stick to the same roti flour every time and use the same measurements, and thereby you get consistent rotis time after time. Let's go into the preparation of the dough. So for the purpose of this video, I'm using a 1 cup metric measure. It basically is traditional roti flour, and you could change the proportions if you'd like. So the proportion which we're going to use is 1 cup of atta flour to 70% of a cup of water. So this is going to yield a pretty sticky and gooey atta. With this proportion, what happens is you would be able to press the rotis with ease, thereby resulting in consistent thin rotis. Okay, in addition to the roti flour and water, we would be adding half a teaspoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of oil. So let's see how that goes. Now that we've gone through the atta, the proportions, let's start adding them into this bowl and mix them together. I generally prefer adding everything at once and then mixing them, but few people prefer adding the water a little more slowly. I'm just going to add everything at one go. There we go, we have the atta, we have the water, the salt, and the oil. Okay, we're going to mix the flour. Ensure you wash your hands first. Here we go. One side. And that's it. The atta has been kneaded. What I do additionally, I use a piece of wet tissue and I cover the atta for some time, so around 15 minutes to half an hour. I wet the tissue completely, squeeze it out, and cover the atta with a piece of wet tissue. You could use a cloth, you could use a tissue, just that the moisture is extremely important to chapatis, and as much as we can preserve the moisture, we must try to do so. Okay, so let's give this 15 minutes to half an hour. Okay, so the dough has been out for 30 minutes now. So what we're going to do is pinch the dough rather into smaller proportions and roll them up so that they could be put on the roti maker. So to begin with, let's get this off, lay the tissue on the side. What we could do is use the same tissue paper to actually pinch and put the roti dough across so that it's still on a wet surface. Lightly dust the dough because the roti dough is going to be pretty watery. So what we're going to do is just dust this and start pinching out golf ball sized roti portions. So roll this up, roll this. The thing is, with these portions which we make for the roti maker, you don't have to dust them like regular rotis. So for regular rotis, you're actually going to put rolling plate and then use a rolling pin, so you have the chances for the dough to stick on that. But in this case, that is not an issue. So once you just dust the dough for just pinching the roti, you don't have to dust them again. So just roll them, put them aside, and here we go. So right now we've actually rolled up the dough into smaller portions. Generally 1 metric cup of roti flour would yield 8 to 9 chapatis. I always prefer using a mat and then placing the roti maker on that, thereby not scratching the countertop and providing additional grip. Wipe your roti maker with a lightly moist tissue paper or a piece of cloth, and let's get that cleaned. Plug in the roti maker and you would see the light coming on. It differs by the model, but the model which I have has the light on. I generally prefer not to use oil on the roti maker, though the product advertises that you could use oil. I just use the roti maker for the pure purpose of making rotis, and if I want to use oil, I just use a non-stick pan for doing so. Let's wait for the light to go off. Okay, so the light has now gone off. Alright, so let's place one of the roti between the plates. You take the dough, put it a little on the higher side, put it in, this generally takes around 45 seconds to a minute on each side. Just wait for the bubbles to come up and one side to go slightly or one side to get red spots. Just keep turning it periodically. So now if you notice on the other side, you'd start seeing light brown spots, which is a pretty good indication for us to turn it. Allow it on this side for around 10 seconds to 15 seconds. Let's see. Just keep turning it. And then the magical moment. So as and when you make a roti, ensure that the roti is actually in a foil paper or in a cloth and kept wrapped even as you're making it, because the moisture can get lost. So you don't have to wrap the foil completely, just wrap it lightly, and 10 minutes after you're done with all rotis, completely seal it. Else what's going to happen is the moisture is going to get lost and it's going to become hard. By doing this, you can actually ensure that your roti stays outside for even 24 hours and your roti is going to be soft. So with this, we are done with our rotis. The general process takes anywhere between 15 minutes to 20 minutes to make around 12 rotis. Alright, see you then. Thank you.